Hey, what's up guys? So today's video we're going to be installing eBay headers on this Dodge Dakota. So I don't know how they can do it, but these headers were $80 shipped off eBay. So with that in mind, obviously the quality is probably not going to be there, but some people install them and have good results. So I'm going to share that with you guys. If they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. It's not going to be a big deal. This is for entertainment purposes to see if they fit, see if they work. But we'll conclude whether it's worth it to install eBay headers on your vehicle at the end of this video. So these are the headers here. They are just a cheap set of headers that we're going to try out, see how they fit, and see how they look. I'll link these in the description below, but they are super cheap. So I think you can get them for about 80 bucks, give or take, with shipping. So you can't really expect much from a header like this, but honestly, for the price, it doesn't look terrible. So we reviewed these in another video as well, but the welds don't look too bad. I mean, it's really not the worst thing that you would expect for an $80 pair of headers. So over here, we still, almost like a cheap port and polish job there. But I mean, definitely not gonna be ideal, but it probably is better than what we have. And for 80 bucks, how can you really complain? So we have two of them. One gripe that I did already know about before I even got them was that the hardware, two things. It is just brutal, like junk hardware. Not only that, but it's not even the right size. So we had to pick up a set of bolts, and it does come with gaskets. Some people warn that they may leak, but with the leaking manifolds that are on the truck right now, it can't be any worse than it is. If we have to upgrade the gaskets, I'll definitely let you know that as well, but we're gonna try them just for now, see how they work. Because honestly, they're only 2, 4, 6 bolts each side. So if it does end up leaking down the road, it's really not going to be that much of a big deal to sit there and swap out new gaskets. So let's go ahead, get the truck up in the air, and we'll test it out. To tackle this job, we are going to be removing both front wheels, and then once you remove your fender liners, which mine are already removed, the headers are going to be right there and accessible. So let's go ahead, get this a little bit higher, get the front wheels off, and then we can get started. Truck is halfway up and the wheels are off. The absolute first thing that I want to do is spray these bolts that we're gonna have to remove on the actual manifold. So I'm gonna spray the threads of these with some PB Blaster just so that they have at least a few minutes to soak, because hopefully they don't snap and we can reuse them. But you guys all know how that goes, but we'll see what happens. So I'm gonna put some PB Blaster on those, let it soak, and then we'll move on to removing all the bolts on the manifold. We're gonna start on the driver's side first, and we'll take this one off. So first up, I'm gonna remove these two. I already moved this one because I went to the hardware store to check what bolt size it is, and this one I just cracked loose. As you can see, there was some sort of heat shield on this one, at least at some point in time, but it is since disintegrated, and I couldn't honestly tell you what it's supposed to look like. So we'll remove this bolt, and then I'm gonna get to the one right next to it. So thankfully these bolts come out okay. And we'll try to remove this one here next. So we got one last bolt, and then we just got the two that go to the flange. Look at how loose this one was. Wow, holy cow. No wonder the exhaust was so leaky sounding. Once I get this out of here, we'll examine it on the floor, but look, see right here? That's how much gasket I had holding the front together and the back together. So for those of you guys that are saying that I should get better gaskets, well, if I had gaskets that look like this before, anything is an improvement at this point. So now I'm gonna loosen these bolts here, and I'm gonna do it just with old-fashioned hand tools, just because why not? Ooh. Oh my god, that's like a good 50 pounds off the weight of the truck right there. So there's a side-by-side comparison of the stock manifold to the shorty manifolds, and we're going to use a 1-inch long 5/16 bolt, and the thread pitch is 18, so dash 18. So we got 6 of those because there's 6 holes, and those bolts are way too long. So we cleaned up our surfaces, nothing too crazy because they're iron heads. They clean up pretty easily, and I just cleaned off all the old gasket material and we're ready to go. So I am gonna have to put some gasket maker here just to make sure that it seals correctly and properly, but I'm going to do that right at the last minute. So I'll put the header on first and then we'll worry about doing the sealant here after, and then we'll pull up the flange when we do that at the same time. So let's go ahead and get that up there and keep going. All right, so fitment looks really good. Everything is just loosely in place. Even where the flange goes over here, looks like it's going to bolt up just perfectly. Like I said, everything is super loose, but it does all line up. So I'm leaving everything loose for now. I'm gonna go on to the passenger side, make sure everything does fit as well, just so we don't get ourselves in a strange bind. So let's move on to the passenger side, dismantle everything, get it loosely fitting like this so that we make sure we're ready to go before we start cranking things down. So same deal over here. Let's just loosen all the bolts, take this out. I think this side should be a little bit easier because we don't have the steering column and that other kind of stuff in the way as far as transmission cables and all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead, remove this side. We'll just take all the bolts out, take these two bolts off for the flange. I've already got them soaking in PB Blaster, so everything should come out, and then we'll continue. So that stock manifold is out, it's on the ground. Luckily the gasket was actually in one piece on this one. I just laid the new manifold on top of the stock one just to kind of get an idea of if it was going to be anywhere close to where it needs to be, and it looks like we're going to be okay. So there's the two compared side by side like that. And honestly, again, I keep saying this, but for the money, I don't think you can go wrong. Yeah, they might not last forever, but I mean, for 70 to 80 bucks, who are we kidding here? So I'm gonna get the surfaces cleaned up just a little bit. Everything looks good. All the bolts came out perfectly fine. So we'll go ahead, clean that up, and we'll get this new header in there loosely, make sure it all lines up before we can start finalizing things, getting the silicone on the flange and tightening everything down. So it appears we've encountered the issue with these cheap headers. This hits right here on the upper control arm. So I've messed with it quite a bit and it just barely kisses it. So I'm going to see if I can remove this washer. I know it has this washer with this rubber portion in it, but I'm gonna see if removing that washer does give us that extra little 1/4 of an inch that we need. But we'll try it. It's not perfect, but let me see if it does what we need to do. So after removing the washer and nut from the upper control arm, it does appear that they do just barely clear. So if you guys take a look here, if I line them up, there's no gasket in it right now, but if I line them up, they just barely tuck into place. So what I think at this point we're gonna do, that's seated flat, so it does kind of go where it needs to go. So I think what we're gonna do is put them on. I'm going to see if I can bend it just to give it just enough clearance. So once we bolt them all up, we'll see if we can just bend them in just so slightly. I mean, who cares at this point, they're cheap. And that way I can get my washer back on. If not, I might just have to kind of cut the corner of the washer off a little bit just so that there's enough clearance so I can put that back on. But they're close, but not perfect. But what can you expect for the price? So I got pretty much all the bolts snugged, and here's what we're left with. So it's off probably about 1/2 inch. So that's pretty much the 1/2 inch that it should be up and away from this here control arm bolt. So guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna bend this up away from the control arm towards where it should be, and we'll see what we're left with. So get ready for some action and some fun. So after messing with it for a little while, it doesn't want to go. I'm not comfortable with leaving it like that, so I'm going to get a hold of the eBay company and let them know that I am not happy with these and that I want to return them because I don't want it rubbing on there. Not only that, but the motor isn't a solid mounted motor, it's on rubber mounts, so with any flex of the engine, it's just going to smack off that control arm right there even harder. and end up causing some damage. Not only that, but end up melting the bushing out of my upper control arm. So not gonna fly, gonna call the company, and we'll figure out what we're gonna do. All right, so as you guys can see, the eBay headers did not work out. We were like 50%, maybe even 75% to installing them, but I mean, the driver's side fit good, but the passenger side, you saw that it was off by maybe like half an inch or so. So anyways, we're gonna continue this video, so stay tuned for part 2 when we get some real headers on the truck, and we'll show you guys how they fit compared to the eBay headers, and you guys can make the decision for yourself. So anyways, personally, I wouldn't try it. Now I have to go through the hassle of shipping them back to the original vendor to get a refund. So hopefully you guys found this entertaining, found this informative. I know it was kind of already to be expected given the price, but I think some people actually get away with it. I think it actually does fit for some people, but I'm sharing my experience with you guys. Hopefully you found it entertaining, maybe informative, maybe a little bit of fun. Anyways, if you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Also check out the join button below. There's lots of perks to signing up for Boosted Motorsports as a member. So definitely check that out, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.